Hey, I've just finished all the installation here, and I just want to give you a quick little tour again, just a little status update here. You can see all the installation is up in the walls here, in the 2x4 wall space, and it's pretty nice in here now. It's pretty quiet, it's pretty muffled, and I hope it's going to stay like that when I actually get the wall board up. It's kind of a good sound in here right now. I was vacuuming a little bit before filming this, and it's nice and quiet. The vacuum was so muffled, so it's I hope it has the same effect with the power tools. Anyways, just a few things I want to mention here. So before I put the actual installation up, I had to move some of the boxes back into the walls. I had to modify where they were sitting in the wall, because the board that we're actually going to be putting up on the walls is not a 1/2-inch plywood anymore. It's actually 1/4-inch pegboard. So I actually had to bring the boxes back an extra 1/4 inch into the wall. So I moved all the boxes back into the wall a little bit, and now the vapor bearers are all kind of twisted and stuff because they're not quite sitting right, but at least all the boxes are set back into the wall enough that they're not going to stick through the 1/4-inch pegboard when we put it up. So a bit of a pain there, but it was kind of necessary so that the boxes look nice once we get the pegboard up and the final finish. But yeah, other than that, I mean, everything is pretty well set to go. A lot of the time was spent just cutting all the insulation out in along the back of the insulation bat, so that it could fit, like the pipes had to fit in behind there and stuff without the actual bat bulging out. So you can see here it's nice and flush against the wall, yet the pipes run up and behind and it goes across and then back up. So a lot of that was kind of measuring out and cutting it out, and lots of work, but you know what, it turned out pretty well. I'm pretty happy with the effect. So I even sealed up some of the cavities in here. I don't think I'm going to be putting plywood up, or I'm not going to be putting up the pegboard in this area here. However, I did just want to kind of muffle the sound from going into the little raceway there. So I put some sound bats there. I slid the sound bats up behind this beam here as well, and hopefully that'll kind of muffle the sound. It's just complete. In this corner here, this is the corner where the foregang was. This is like the corner opposite of the camera, the time-lapse camera, so it's right in the corner. This is a super thin sound insulation bat here because I had to cut so much out just because of all they have the 5-gang there. Actually, it's not a 4-gang, it's a 5-gang. And then there's all the wires and stuff, so that's a pretty thin bat of insulation there, but put a bat up in there as well just to block any of the sound in that raceway. And just continued along the wall here. This wall was pretty decent to do. It was pretty empty, I guess. Not too many pipes, not too many wires. A couple of boxes. But yeah, anyway, it's nice and flush in there. It's all ready for the pegboard to go up. It would be nice to just kind of leave the insulation just like this, leave the walls open now and just start finishing the workshop, but if I start cutting in here, the insulation is going to get so dusty. I will be covering it with plastic as well before I put the plywood up, sorry, the pegboard up, but if I just left the plastic open and, you know, finished the plugs and started finishing the workshop, and all the sawdust would actually stick to the plastic with the static interaction there. So I do want to put the pegboard up, even though it's not going to look as nice as the finished installation here, but that's okay. Just get some more close-ups here. I tried to keep as much sound insulation as possible in between all the outlets and the plugs and switches, just to minimize the amount of sound transfer through the wall. So I tried to keep the bats as thick as possible as well, trying to cut out as minimal insulation as possible. Okay, so that's about all I want to show you for this little update here. I guess I'll continue with the time-lapse now. Okay, so the vapor barrier is up and it's all stapled, the boxes are taped, everything is ready to go. You can see I got some help from my family to put it up. 3 extra sets of hands tends to make things go a little bit quicker. You can see we started in this corner here. Just to the left of that taped seam, you can see there's a small little layer there. That's the start of it, and then we wrapped all the way around the room. And yeah, one continuous sheet, so I mean, we got it right across, and then we finished there as well. And so I taped the seam there, top to bottom, and then I stapled it up, went around, taped all the boxes up. Now again, this vapor barrier isn't really necessary, like it's not needed at all, because it's not functional. Basically, it's not keeping any moisture out. The plastic has gone up on the inside walls here. Basically, the only reason that we did that is because we're putting pegboard on the walls, and there's going to be dust and stuff getting through the pegboard, getting into the insulation and stuff, getting into the walls. So we just wanted to keep everything clean this way. And there's also some open joist cavities here. You can see through here. There's I don't know if you can see that, but it actually goes into the adjacent storage room. So we wanted to put plastic up in those areas just so that we could keep all the dust in this room as much as possible. Yeah, so yeah, it looks pretty good. All the boxes are taped here. And there, I got one hole in the vapor barrier as I was putting it up. Can't do much about that, so I just taped it over there. But otherwise, everything else is good. It's all ready to put the pegboard up now. Also on the back wall here, we just left a small little 1.5 to 2 foot piece. We're going to put some more pink insulation up in the top there and fold the plastic up above it just to make it look better, and that should finish it off. And the next step will be the pegboard on the walls. Okay, just another progress update here. So what we've done in this little section here is we put the pegboard up on the walls and we've painted the floor as well. Quite a bit of work that's been done so far. I think the pegboard was a little bit more work than what we had expected it to be, or what we thought it would be, but it did turn out pretty good in the end. I'm pretty happy with the effect. There's a lot more light bouncing off the walls now, and it's a lot brighter in the shop, so that's really good. You need to have a lot of light in here. But yeah, I was saying it was a little bit more work than what we had expected. I think it was because of the fact that there were a lot of boxes to cut around, and it's not like drywall, it's not like gyprock. You can't just take a rotozip and just go around the outside of the box. We had to measure this because it's a lot denser material, so it took a lot longer to make the cuts and fit it in. Also, the basement wasn't framed professionally, so a lot of the studs weren't at 16 inches on center, and because of that, it's hard to fit a 4-foot piece of pegboard up on the wall. So we were cutting off, 5 inches here and there just so we could line it up with the studs, and also nailing it. We had a bit of a problem finding where the studs were. So that's one of the reasons why we found it a little difficult as well. But I guess primarily the fact that there were a lot of boxes to cut around, and you couldn't just use like the conventional rotozip technique to cut around them. I'll explain what we did after, but I just want to go over some of the detail work here. So I'll start with the plugs. As I mentioned before, I had to move the boxes back about a ½ inch into the walls, and I'm glad I did that because now when you look at it with the pegboard up, there's adequate clearance for the boxes. So the boxes aren't sticking through the pegboard, which they would have if I had left the boxes where they were. So I set them back about a ½ inch, and now you can see that there's enough space to the front of the pegboard. And now I'm going to have enough space to put the plug on. The tabs will sit on the actual pegboard, and the boxes won't be sticking through. So I'm glad I moved the boxes back because it's only 1/4 inch material, and not ½ inch like I had planned for initially. But it still worked out in the end. So yeah, the plugs are good. Here's vacuum outlets here. I just took a hole saw and measured the center of the vacuum port, and then cut it. The little pipes that I have sticking through, there's about 7 or 8 of them in the shop here. Those are just temporary. They're going to come off, and I have blast gates, the plastic ABS blast gates that I'm going to glue on, and that's going to really finish them off nice. They're on order though right now, so I'll be bringing them in. But yeah, it's going to look nice. I guess I'll show you some of the detailed cuts here. This piece actually in particular was pretty difficult. So we had, if you can see here, the full piece is just fitting into the frame there. There's the seam right there. So we had to cut around the panel board, then we had to cut around the duct, we had to cut around for the pipe, for that pipe, for those wires, and then for the beam, and then for the outlets. So there's quite a bit of cutting to do on this one piece, and quite a bit of fitting. The I-beam part was pretty difficult to fit there. We were trying to squeeze it in there, and then around the duct, and then around the electrical. So that was a pretty difficult piece to put in, but we ended up getting it, and it looks pretty good. It's not bad. It really cleans it off too. And around the panel board here especially, we thought that we'd have to put a trim board around it, but it actually turned out pretty well. It's a pretty tight fit right up to the panel board, so we're pretty happy with that. I don't think that we'll be trimming it out. I think we're just going to leave it like this because it looks pretty good. This piece here as well, what we did on the top was we took out the clamps. You can see there's like a little riser board there for the clamps just to keep it even with these ones here. We took those out and raised it up just so that we could fit the pegboard in and still have it flush like that continuous straight top part there. And what we did is we slid it. So we took this entire board. So we basically there's like a notch for the panel board right around, and we basically slid the entire board, or the entire pegboard from the right to the left, and then lifted it up, and just so we could allow for this gas pipe there. We notched it there. So yeah, lots of finagling, but it ended up working out in the end, and it looks pretty good. I guess I'll take off those stickers as well. But anyways, so that's the pegboard. I think I had mentioned before that I wanted to put decorative plywood on that back wall there. It's gonna be like our accent wall. We were tossing the idea back and forth, and we ended up going with just pegboard on that wall. I don't know, for one reason or another, we just decided that it'd be simpler just to keep it pegboard and leave it as that. So, and plus we couldn't really decide what we were gonna put there. We didn't know if we wanted to have like a accent wall, like just like a colored wall, or we were looking at some plywood that looked kind of like board and batten. We were going to put that up initially, but the designer in our family said it didn't really look good, so we just went with pegboard instead. And then for the floor, so the floor was the second thing that we've done as well, and it's going to lose focus here because it's just focusing on nothing. But what I did for that was after everything was cleaned, I vacuumed, did a sweep, vacuum, cleaned it with TSP, trisodium phosphate, and that's kind of like a degreaser, just in case there's anything stuck to the concrete. If there's any grease or oil down there, nothing will stick, so like no paint will stick to it. So I really wanted that to be clear. So I cleaned it with some TSP and then washed it again, and then started painting it. There were a few after the first coat I put on. I think the time-lapse stopped just before, or just as I was putting the first coat on, so you couldn't really see that. But in between the first and second coat, I noticed that there were a few areas that were lifting, and that's because there was an old coat of paint on the floor already, and there was some water damage. It was starting to lift there, so I ended up scraping off those areas and then just going over it again with a second coat, and that second coat really covered it well. So yeah, 2 coats of paint here. It's oil paint, so I did have my ventilator on. The house still smells a little bit, but it's gonna stick well. You have to prepare it really well for oil, so that's what I was focusing on there. A lot of preparation, and now it's gonna last for many years, I hope. Anyways, I think it turned out pretty well. Next thing to do is put the baseboard on. I've got all the baseboard painted here, so this is ready to go on next. This is the profile of it. So it's a pretty sleek design, nice and clean. I was debating between putting on just straight pine baseboard or white baseboard, and I went with this. It was about the same price anyway, so this is nice. But anyways, I've got thicker pieces here for the baseboard. This is going to be for window and door trim, and then just some smaller trim there at the very foot of the baseboard. So anyways, that's ready to go on next. And then it'll be the plugs and switches, and then I'll do another update after that. So that's what I'll be doing next.